Okay, let's get started. Welcome to the webcast today on introducing Autodesk Build. My name is Jatin, and I am the AEC Tech Consulting Lead here at Vinzero. In this webinar, we will learn how Autodesk Build can connect data, workflows, and teams seamlessly as part of a portfolio of connected construction offerings within the Autodesk Construction Cloud. There will, of course, be a demonstration of Autodesk Build in action. Please note that Autodesk Build comes with a mobile app called PlanGrid Build, where it has all the functionality that the web version has. However, we won't be demoing the mobile application today. So if you want to see the mobile application specifically in action, just contact us after the webinar. And at the end, of course, there will be a Q&A session to answer some of your questions. Okay, before we get into it, just a brief overview of what Vinzero is and does. We are a solutions organization that fosters innovation through delivering software and hardware solutions, consulting, training, development, and managed services. We've become a trusted advisor to our clients due to the breadth and depth of our service offering and technical expertise, our commercial agility, and understanding of customer service. We have an excellent ANZ footprint with offices in large parts of Australia and New Zealand. We're actually one of the largest Autodesk partners in the world and considered by businesses we deal with to be a trusted advisor. In addition to Autodesk, we also partner with vendors such as Microsoft, HP, Lenovo, Unity, Avail, Pinnacle, and others that we've got countless others. Lastly, because most of us are from the industry, we understand the challenges our clients face, and therefore we can deliver solutions through a combination of experience and innovation. A little bit about me. My name is Jatin Sharma. I have over 7 years experience in the construction industry as a BIM manager, designer, and technical instructor. Currently, my role at Vinzero is that of an tech consulting lead, and my software skills include AutoCAD, Revit, the Autodesk Construction Cloud, Build, Navisworks, Format, and 3ds Max. I completed a Bachelor of Science majoring in geology and physics before coming into the building industry, working as a draftee, transitioning into a Revit certified professional, and from there, eventually into a BIM consulting lead role. Okay, our agenda. We're going to first start by digging into some of the current challenges faced by the construction industry today. And then we'll discuss how having a common data environment such as the Autodesk Construction Cloud can help with these challenges. From there, we will home in on the Autodesk Build offering, which resides in the Autodesk Construction Cloud portfolio, and conduct a live demo of the module in action. For the live demonstration, I want to show some of the functionality within Build as it pertains to sheets, markups, forms, and issue management. And lastly, of course, we'll have some time for Q&A to get to any questions that you have that you're throwing in the chat box throughout the webinar and discussion at the end. Okay, now that the introductions and agenda points are done, we can get into the meat of the webinar. So as we talk to our customers within the construction industry, we hear over and over again about some key challenges that they face day in and day out. The construction industry is known for its traditionally low margins. Projects are becoming increasingly more complex, yet the schedule to complete them keeps shrinking. Data and information is becoming extremely siloed, making much of it unusable and, in fact, unavailable when required between the project teams. We have a labor shortage currently where everyone right now is struggling to find and retain staff. And teams are becoming more and more distributed, with stakeholders split between various offices and the field. Yet, in fact, when Autodesk and FMI actually did a study, they found that only 18% of the firms that were distributed reported consistently, using mobile applications, for example, to access project data. And all of these challenges combined bring uncertainty and risk into the industry and buildings and infrastructure as a whole. So as we collaborate and partner with our customers, there seems to be around 6 main themes to overcome these challenges. So if we were to, use an individual project as an example, to start improving and achieving success, we don't need to tackle all of these themes at once. So if we potentially just take a look at one or just a few, we can see some examples of how we can start improving. So, for instance, increased collaboration, and the possibilities here are endless. With increased collaboration, the phasing of work between trades can be better planned out, leading to fewer delays as teams are waiting to get into the same area to work. Or with increased collaboration, issues and problems can be solved faster and better. We often talk about a single source of truth. Often rework seems unavoidable. By working off of one single source of truth, teams can reduce errors by working on the latest approved drawings and information. Connected 2D and 3D, teams can arm teams with both 2D plans and 3D models so that they can better understand how components are installed and identify potential clashes before they hit the field. We talk about improved data accuracy. So with improved data accuracy, teams can better plan and forecast their projects. Having the most up-to-date view of work complete and project costs really allows teams to understand if projects are running behind schedule or over budget. And the key is that they know this sooner, and therefore they can actually mitigate the damage and provide more time to get back on track. We talk about standardization. By standardizing in on one platform, teams are able to function much more efficiently. There is no learning curve between projects, and company standards can be enforced throughout the organization and always met. And last, but definitely not the least, digitization. We often talk about digitizing many of workflow processes, therefore eliminating the gaps between distributed teams, which we can drastically reduce. So if we were to visualize a lot of the issues that we're talking about, and especially in terms of how information is currently fragmented during the life cycle of a project, this is a really good simplified version of how team members typically exchange information on a project today, right? So we were talking to many clients and they experienced this reality, this fragmented source of truth. But when we are talking about how we can overcome, all those challenges and the 6 themes, the key thing to note is that it all starts with a common data environment. Okay, the ability to have this information flow through a central repository where ideally it's much more easily controlled and up to date. The CDE, or rather common data environment, we call it, provides mechanisms to gate information flow so that construction documents and other information such as, your markups, your safety forms, your daily inspections and issues are only available when appropriate. The Autodesk Construction Cloud is an example of a robust common data environment which facilitates this type of controlled information flow. So if we dive a little deeper into the Autodesk Construction Cloud, it really is a unified cloud platform that connects workflows, teams, and data at every stage of construction to reduce risk, maximize efficiency, and hopefully increase profits. So we can see a graphic which broadly separates each stage of the construction lifecycle and what capabilities the ACC Common Data Platform can provide at any said stage. So between design all the way to operations and handover. So today we're talking about Autodesk Build, which fits into the build stage of the construction lifecycle. We have done webinars around the design stage, the planning stage in the recent past, so you can check out those webinars on our YouTube channel. So what value does Autodesk Build specifically within the Autodesk Construction Cloud bring to you? Right, so Autodesk Build really supports teams, projects, and businesses all in a connected way. So for your teams, it provides every team member with the specific tools they need to do their job and to collaborate with others while supporting the digitization of tasks and centralized capture of data. For your projects, you're able to leverage data collected by teams to drive efficiencies and connect workflows from design through to turnover while delivering a real-time view of project status. For businesses, it helps understanding the health of project portfolios by extracting insights from collected data and providing data-driven guidance towards the levers to pull for organizational improvement and innovation. So again, here's a quick snapshot of all the different functionalities available in the Build module within the Autodesk Construction Cloud. So we have your document management, project management, quality management, safety management, project closeout, and of course, cost management as well. So for our live demo, we will be going over how we can take the latest information coming from design, publish it into sheets for our field team to review on site. They can do things like markup and take photos or create issues. From there, we will go over how they're able to create forms, link it to references such as photos or issues. And lastly, we're going to talk about how we can create RFIs in Autodesk Build. Again, please note that Autodesk Build comes with a mobile application. It's called PlanGrid Build, where it has all of the functionality that we're going to talk about today, and all the functionality that's in the web version, and in fact, even more than the web version. However, we're not going to be demoing the mobile application today. So if you want to see the mobile application in action specifically, just get in touch with us after the webinar. You can book in a demo and we can go from there. Okay, on to the live demonstration. I'm just going to open up my Google Chrome, and you can see here on the upper left-hand side, I'm living currently in the Autodesk Construction Cloud. I've got the name of my project on the left-hand side as well, my ACC demo project sandbox environment. And remember when I said the Autodesk Construction Cloud is this unified platform and you've got these different modules available depending on what you're up to. If you click on this little downward arrow, you can see here all the different modules that are available within the Autodesk Construction Cloud. So you've got your docs environment, which really underpins the Autodesk Construction Cloud as a centralized document management system. You've got design collaboration, which is around sharing models with external parties, et cetera, et cetera. You've got your model coordination, which is around live clash detection in the cloud. You've got takeoff, you've got build, which we're going to be talking about today, and cost management as well, which ties into build and some of the other modules. So the idea is you have your area in which you're working, whether it's build, docs, cost management, and all you need to do is click on the module. So for now, we'll start in the Autodesk Docs area, like I say, which underpins the Autodesk Construction Cloud. And you can see I've got a bit of a folder system here set up based on the typical ISO 19650 standards. And remember earlier we were talking about how we can control information, right? So if I hover over these three little dots, perhaps in this pre-construction folder, there is a permission settings that you can see here. And this really drives what users may or may not be able to see. So for example, under pre-construction, I've got myself and Mike Kane, who've got managed level permissions, and the construction manager and estimator perhaps only having edit level permissions. Another example, I might go into this published area here. Okay, and it's just loading up the permissions on this side. And you can see I've got my subfolders available. And again, so I've got myself and Mike, who are project admins, and I've got other roles here. And depending on their role, they have the appropriate level of permission. So all the other disciplines have got view-only functionality. However, the BIM manager has got manage level permission. So we're really controlling the flow of information. If I go into the architecture folder, for example, it's going to load up all of the files shortly. So I've got a whole bunch of PDFs here, okay? And in fact, the Autodesk Construction Cloud and Autodesk Docs specifically, it can hold up to 55 different file formats. So not only your traditional 3D and 2D models, but your PDFs, Word, Excel, etc., can all be put into this common data environment. Okay. I've got a review status that's available, so I can quickly see what documents have been approved and what have been rejected, which really stems from a review process you can do within Autodesk Docs. If you want more information on this, I have done a webinar on Autodesk Docs specifically, so you can check that out or get in touch with us at the end of the webinar. And we've got some version control here as well. So I can see, for example, this document here is up to version 5. And even within Autodesk Docs, you can use it as a file viewer. So I'm actually able to click on this particular PDF. I can actually open it up. Okay. And I can do things like your traditional markups that you can see on this right-hand side. I can create issues, create photos. We'll go over this in a bit more detail in the build section, but it is available to some degree within Docs. And in fact, one of the really cool functionalities here, which I'll quickly talk about, is this compare tool on this upper right-hand corner. So you can actually compare this PDF or even a 2D drawing if you wanted to with itself, a previous version of itself, or another file completely. So I could click on this little compare tool and I can compare it with, the same document, but perhaps version 3. And I'm just going to select page 1 and I'm going to hit compare. So what I'm doing here is I'm comparing the version 3 to the version 5 of the same PDF. So I could hit the compare button. Autodesk Docs is going to think about it for a second and show me those differences. If I find that something is not quite aligned like it's doing here, I can click on this little align button and realign them as required. Okay. And in fact, another cool thing you can do here is that if you're talking to, particularly contractors or anyone specifically that you want to discuss, changes with, you can change from the overlay tool to the side-by-side tool where you can compare differences as well. Okay, so from here, what I would do is now that I've got a whole bunch of information in here, I can push it into the build environment. Now, I do notice I've got a rejected document here, and I perhaps don't want to push that into build. So one of the ways I could be quite efficient in this is use the search and filter tool to just very, very quickly change the filter to say, well, I only want to look at approved drawings only. And it's going to go ahead and it's going to filter that into this architectural area. Okay, and now that I can see here everything's all approved, I'm able to select everything. I'll just get rid of the search and filter, and I can actually click on this little publish button. So when I click on this publish button, it's going to take all of this information and it's going to put it into our build module. So I'll just quickly show you what our build module looks like. So this is the build module here under Sheets. And you can see here I've got a list of all the sheets that have been published from this Docs environment. So again, the workflow is I would select the documents that I would need, for example, either using the search and filter or just clicking on them manually. click on this publish button. And when I click on this publish button, what it's going to do is that it's going to go into this publish sheets environment where you pick your version set. It will automatically try to pick up your sheet numbers, titles, and tags. And once you go through this process, it ends up here in the sheets environment within Autodesk Build. Now, if you have the mobile application, all of this information gets downloaded into the app onto your phone, so that even if you go off, if you go onto a site that doesn't have internet, doesn't have, any form of connectivity, you can still view all of the information. Okay. And when you're on site, or even when you're in your web application, you don't have to trawl through the entire list. You can either use the search button up here if you're looking for a particular document, or you can leverage the filter tool and make use of Autodesk's Build automatic discipline triage and tagging. So I might say, well, I want to see all of the architectural discipline documents. And it's able to find this information because of the A that's at the start here. If you have other sheet naming conventions, like if your A perhaps is in the middle or at the end, Autodesk Build can be customized to extract that information as well. And I might say, look, well, I also have tagged it to be building A. I only want to look at building A documents. You can see that it's able to very quickly filter that out so that I can find the document that I need to. And you can even filter by version set if you'd like as well. So I might go into this overall floor plan, first floor over here. So if I click on the sheet, you can see that it opens up just like Autodesk Docs, actually. Okay, and the key thing to note here is, again, if you have the mobile app, the sheet will just open up in the mobile app and you can pan around and do whatever you need to do. So in this environment, just like Docs, we have the ability to do markups on this right-hand side over here. So we've got our draw tools. We've got our shapes. We've got the ability to create text, the ability to create clouds, callouts, and polygons or polylines. The other thing that we can do here, so if you were, again, if you're out in the field and you saw something that wasn't quite appropriate in an area, you could go ahead and click on this little issues icon and say, well, hey, look, there's an issue here around client feedback. Maybe they don't want this door here for whatever reason. And you can actually go ahead and start filling in this information to give context to this particular issue. And notice how you can actually give it a description. You can assign it to either a member, a role, or a company. The difference here is that if you assign it to a role, everyone who has that role will get a notification that this issue exists. If you assign it to a person, only they get a notification. And if you assign it to a company, everyone in that company will get a notification. Okay. And so you would pick your battles on who you need to assign it to. The other functionality around issues that we have is something called watchers. So watchers are people that you want to tag on who need to know that this issue exists, but aren't actually involved with resolving it. So they're not directly part of the resolution process, but they would like to be informed, especially if it's something critical. And again, we'll dive into issues a little bit deeper later on in this webinar. And you can put in information such as due date, start dates, root causes, aka where is the root cause of this issue coming from. This is for the reporting functionality that I was talking about earlier, where, for example, if we get quite a lot of issues that all stem into something around housekeeping or inadequate training, then we can look at, as an organization, how can we improve that process, right? And lastly, you can actually tie this issue to forms, assets, RFIs, photos, and something we call PCOs, which is referring to the cost management side. Okay. And at the top here on the right-hand side, we've got that compare ability as well, just like how we did it in Autodesk Docs slightly earlier. So you've got that ability on site to be able to quickly see any differences between this latest version of the drawing and any previous version. And the other cool thing that Autodesk Build does while we're in this area, obviously, other than being able to create photos and do measurements, is actually, do you see how if I zoom in into these icons, it's actually shaded blue. So when you publish like a set of sheets, what happens is in the background, there is a process called automatic sheet linking, which happens. And so what that means is that, again, whether you're on site or you're on the web version, if I, for example, wanted to take a closer look into the A316 sheet, I can just click on this instead of having to go all the way back to the main sheets area and search for it. I can simply go over here, click on this, and I can see this is the sheet that's linked to this detail, and I can just click on it, section, and I can go ahead and I can just open it up. So now it means that I don't have to actually go all the way back into this manual area here and have to filter or search. Everything's all linked together, which again is really, really cool. When if you have your iPad or your mobile phone on site, you can just click and go through all of your documents. So that's a quick snapshot of the Sheets area. Again, if we move downwards, you can see here, even in Build, there's this Files option. If I click on Files, you'll see that it's a direct connection back into Autodesk Docs. Okay, so this is again what we're talking about, this common data environment where all the different information that is being done by your different teams are all being connected into this one platform. So, just to make sure there's nothing weird going on, if I cancel this publishing and I go into Docs, you can see here this file structure and the folders, etc., everything that's in it is exactly the same as within Docs. Okay, so if we move downwards into issues, you can see that you can see a sort of central repository of where all of the issues are lying across the entire project. So not just within Build, but this entire project. On this right-hand side here, you can see examples of where these issues have got placed. You can see some of them are actually models. Okay, so this is a Revit file. So again, it's that central area where you can see everything. And you can see who it's been assigned to, the different types of issues that are currently here. And of course, you can, if you wanted to, filter this and export this as a report if you wanted to as well. There is a mechanism within Build where you can create, under this reports here, automated reporting. So an example of this is if you have a whole bunch of issues that you have to send out weekly as part of your contract as reminders to your subcontractors, then you can set up automated scheduling as well. And if we click on any one of these issues, so for example, if I was to click on the one that we've just created, the client feedback, we can go in and add extra information if we wanted to, and we can, like I say, reference it back to any information that we've already done. And we'll get into forms in just a second, so you can link it back to submittals, forms, assets, RFI, scheduling, files, and photos as well. Okay, and if you're, for whatever reason, unhappy or you want to make changes to the different types of issues that do come out of the box in Autodesk Build and the Autodesk Construction Cloud, you can just go into the settings area over here and you can add your own types of issues. You can create customized fields. You can have your own permissions around, who is allowed to assign who issues, etc., create root causes, and even if you wanted to create issue templates. So for example, if I had this client feedback issue and I wanted a lot of these areas to be populated automatically without having someone to do it manually every time, I can actually go in here to templates and create some. Okay, and then we're talking about standardization across your organization. This is how we can assist from an issue standpoint. Okay. So if we move ahead into forms within Autodesk Build, the way that it typically works is that the first thing you would do is you would create what we call form templates, and you can actually create two different types of templates. So if I go into this templates here and click on this create button and click on create template, I can either build a new form from scratch using Autodesk Build's inbuilt form builder, or I can upload an existing PDF form, or what we call a smart PDF. So if you like to utilize smart PDFs in your organization and you're wondering, well, can I push all of that into Build? Yes, you can. You would just click on this option here. So you don't have to start from scratch, basically. However, if you do want to build your own, you can do so using Autodesk Build's form builder. So I'll show you both in action. So under this forms here, you would click on create form. It would say, well, these are all the different templates that you have, which one you would like to choose. I might choose an incident report. And you can see here, so this is a form that's inbuilt using Autodesk Build's form builder. So you can put in things like project name, numbers, date of the report, date of the incident, and then obviously start with the incident summary. So for example, you put in the person compiling this report, you've got yes, no questions, you can put in dates, you can put in logic related questions, etc., etc. There's a lot of options available for you. But one of the really cool things that Build does is that underneath each question, you've got a couple of options here. You could actually create a type of logic with an Autodesk Build. And I say I really like this feature, is that, for example, we've got this question here that says, does the incident involve a dangerous event as defined by WHS legislation? So what you can do is you can say, well, what I want people to do is if they tick yes, so yes, this incident does involve a dangerous event, then I want them to have to put in a photo. Okay, they don't have another choice. They have to put in a photo. And if they say, does this incident no, then perhaps I just want to create an issue. And what happens is the photo that you do or the issue that you create, and we'll create one in just a second, link back to this form and this question as well. So when you're done with the form and you need to send it across to someone else, either a building inspector or part of a process, you can actually export this as a PDF report and include the issues, include the photos, include any other files that you've linked to this form. So it's all in this one streamlined location. So for example, let's say we decide to create an issue here. You can see that it's saying, look, you want to add an issue reference. We can either select an issue that already exists within the Build platform, or you can hit this create button at the top here. And I might say, yep, this is a safety issue. You can see here it's populated some of this already for me. And I can, give it a description, assign it to a role or a user or a company, set my watches, put in additional locational details if I needed to, put in a due date and a start date. If I wanted to, I could link it back to a particular file or a sheet, and obviously select my root cause. So this might be coming from things like, let's say communication, for example, and I can just hit the create button at the end. And once I've created this issue, you can say issue successfully created, and you can see that issue has now been connected. This is what I was talking about, to this form and this question. So again, when you export this as a report, it's all in one place and it's actually been triaged by the question. And if there's additional references you want to add outside of these typical questions, you can do so here under this add references in this left-hand area. And of course, you can give your forms additional descriptions, etc., etc. So that's the forms using Autodesk Build's inbuilt form builder. There's another one, like I say, of course, if you have like a smart PDF, I believe the sample timesheet is an example of a smart PDF. So it's just loading up here. You can see it, this is more of your traditional smart PDFs where you can put in information on each cell. Okay, so you have both options available to you, depending on how, and there's pros and cons for both. I recommend that you come and have a discussion with us if you, want to know more information or try to find the right pathway. Just going to go back into this main forms area. Again, you can see the status of what was in draft, what's been submitted. You can take all of these forms at once if you wanted to, and you can export them as a PDF report or even an Excel spreadsheet if you'd like. And the other key note here is obviously we're showing everything from a project perspective. Within the Autodesk Construction Cloud, there is an area where you can create these form templates that will automatically spread across all of your projects that you have created and are about to create in the future. And so what that does is that you create the standardization where if, for example, you have a question that needs to change in a form, you just need to change it in the main account admin area and it will populate across all your projects automatically. So you're not having to manually come into templates for each project and change the form within one project. You can have it optimized across your entire organization. Okay, and lastly, we're talking about RFIs for today. Obviously, like I said, there's lots of other functionality within Build. You've got photos, submittals, meetings, scheduling, assets, even the bridge tool, which is really, really useful. Get in touch with us if you want to know more, if anything piques your interest. So for our RFIs, fairly straightforward. Funnily enough, within Autodesk Build to create an RFI, there's a Create RFI button where you would press it and you can start populating information. The questions in red markers, obviously required questions. The cool thing about this RFI within Autodesk Build is obviously you've got your question suggested answers, but in here where it says ball in court, as in who do you want to send this RFI to, you're not restricted to people within the project. You can actually assign it to an email, so you can give it to someone outside of the project and they can respond back to you via an email, and their response will actually get recorded within Autodesk Build. So if you're sending an RFI to another party and they don't have Build, they can still respond to you and it can still all be put in one location in here. Okay, so there should be no excuse as to why you can't have this connected communication. If for whatever reason, you want, if you want additional questions in here. So for example, I've got things around cost impacts, schedule impacts, priorities, disciplines. If you need additional information to be filled in, you can actually go up here into settings and create your own customized fields. Of course, you can set permissions as well for your RFIs. And again, as you're going back and forth with your RFI, so for example, if I go into this closed RFI, you can see it's all in one place. So what questions people are sending, what is the answers people are coming back with, you can see that in this activity log here as well. So at any point, I can just export this as a detailed PDF report. And I can link in photos, other references, etc., and I can even embed references if I wanted to. Okay. And again, just so you're aware when you are creating your RFI, just like with everything else, and it's a bit of a reoccurring theme with Autodesk Build, you can always link back to other references if you wanted to. And if you have the Autodesk Build, the PlanGrid Build app, you can actually convert an issue So something that started off as an issue into an RFI if you wanted to as well. Okay, so you're not having to actually create a new RFI from scratch if you have prior communication in this issues area that has converted itself into an RFI. So if you have the app, you can do that as well.